go ahead and open up to Colossians 1, when we pick it back up in our series this morning. The title of the message this morning is Jesus is Lord Seriously. Jesus is Lord Seriously. It's going to be coming from Colossians chapter 1, verses 9 through 14. Last week we kicked off this series about Jesus being Christ, being Lord of all. And we learned that if He was not Lord of all, then He cannot be Lord at all. So He is truly Lord of all. He's Lord. This challenge is that we must step back and reflect on every aspect of our lives. Look at how He's involved in your life. Have you given Him your life? Allowed Him to be Lord of your life? Have you allowed Him to be Lord of your life? That's a question we can all ask. That's a question we can all ask. When He's Lord of your life, it will change your attitude, change the way you live your life daily. This is a challenge we always do. Step back, reflect on our lives, and if we find a place in our life that Christ doesn't seem to be part of, then there's some changes that need to be made. Mainly to allow Him and incorporate Him into everything we do in our lives on a daily basis. This second series of messages on Colossians is called Jesus Christ is Lord Seriously. If Jesus Christ is Lord seriously and really Lord of our lives, then we will live a God-pleasing life, and it's impossible for us not to do so. When you put Him first in everything, and every action you make, every decision you make, it's impossible for us not to live a God-pleasing life. Because all through Christ's life, He was seeking out ways to please the Father in obedience to Him. And when we model our lives after Him, we will live a God-pleasing life. And we'll do so and bring Him glory, the glory He deserves. A man by the name of Robert Orban once made this quote: "Sometimes I get the feeling the whole world is against me, but deep down I know that's not true. Some of the smaller countries in this world are neutral." The Apostle Paul will tell us that we are constantly being strengthened in our God-pleasing life, that once being strengthened, we can constantly grow closer to Him, in which in turn this will give us the endurance in our times of struggle, in our times of tribulation. And it helps us to hang in there when we don't have all the answers. Because there's a lot of things in this life I don't have the answers to. You can ask me a question, you know what? A lot of stuff I don't know. I don't have all the answers. But God does. God is an all-knowing and all-powerful God. So we're to give thanks in every situation, no matter what. Have you ever noticed how much of us complain? Have you ever noticed how much of us complain? Whether it be about the weather, whether it's too hot, or the weather's too cold, whether it's raining, or whether it's dry. We complain about our income. Well, I don't make enough money to do this. Only if I had more money, I could do it. We complain all the time about certain things, different aspects of our life. We complain about the government. Complain about how things are going in our government. We should be glad, on all honesty, that we don't live in anarchy. We can look at other third world countries and see how Christians are abused for their faith, and we should be grateful that we don't live in that type of society yet, because I feel it's coming. It's coming. Scripture prophesies about such things, that father be turned against sons, mothers be turned against their daughters. And that's playing out before our very eyes. We haven't reached that point in our government yet. We complain about our church family. Some aren't as spiritual as we are. And you know, when we should be thankful that God has given us as many people with a variety of gifts to help the church in general. Things I can do may not necessarily be things that you'd be willing to do or you can do. Things you can do may not necessarily be things that I can do. But we're all blessed with a particular set of gifts in life. We're all blessed with those gifts to bring God glory. We're constantly under the impression, though, and conclude that we're entitled to certain things in our lives. We think it's in our entitlement or that it's owed to us, when the only entitlement we truly deserve would be hell itself. That's the only thing that we deserve, would be hellfire itself. Satan uses pride to allow us to feel that we're owed something. So in turn, we don't get what we think we deserve, and then that leads to what I was talking about earlier about complaining. So we complain about it. Well, I didn't get what I deserved. I didn't get that pat on the back this morning. I didn't get that pat on the back say, good job, even though I know I worked my hind end off on it. I didn't get commended for it. So it allows pride to step in. There are many Christians, you may be one of them, that thank God for what He has given you. But in reality, they feel that God should have given them more. Now you may be in a group here, and we feel that we have a far better life waiting for us, and that we can completely go through this life if we could just go through a whole total life here on this earth without feeling pain or sickness or illness or suffering, or have less problems, more money, more physical possessions, more positive influences in our life, less illnesses, more good days than we had bad. The list can keep going, no doubt. It would be a wonderful life. It would be a great life to wake up one morning and say, you know what, I jumped right up out of bed, and I didn't have the first problem, I didn't have the first joint pain, but instead you're like, oh, I can't get up. Oh. And I do this a lot. I have problems in the mornings. I'm stiff as a board sometimes. Getting out of bed. But we think we have a life with all that. That would be a great life. That would be awesome. That would be wonderful. The thing is, the problems that we have in this life are not the problems that's from above. I hit this morning in the Sunday school lesson. God's plan for us in this life was not one of sorrow, pain, heartbreak, suffering, trials, tribulations, moments of worry and doubt and fear. No, God's creation was perfect in Genesis. Everything was perfect. It was man's choice to turn away from God's perfect gift and to falter into sin and disobey Him. That was man's choice. From the time he partook of the forbidden tree of knowledge. This was man's choice and not God's, or what God wanted for man. So in turn, here we are. We have these problems. We have this death. We have illnesses. We have our everyday moments of pain and sorrow. So I'm going to be blunt here. Deal with it. Deal with it. It's man's choice. It wasn't God's plan. Man screwed it up. Yet when we deal with this, many of us still conclude and tell God we're thankful anyway. I'm thankful for what I have. But now if you were God on certain things, if you're constantly going to God in prayer saying, you know what, God, I need help with this. Or, God, I'm hurting. And all you do all the time is, how many people like to constantly hear somebody nag and complain about everything? Not me. Because when you're around people like that, it brings you down. It will drag you down. And when someone calls and they come, thinking, well, talking about all this and stuff, and talking about all the suffering they're going through, and I had a real good day yesterday. Yesterday was better than today. And the thing is, how many of us still conclude that we're thankful for what we have anyway? Now, I got a question. If you were God and you went, you know what, God, I'm thankful, you think He would believe you? If you're the one that's always constantly complaining? You know what? If you look on it doesn't take too far to turn the TV on and see people living a lot worse than we are. It doesn't take long at all to flip through the channels and see such things. But when you tell God you're thankful, and then you're always turning around complaining about the weather. Complaining, so well, it's prettier, it was warmer yesterday than what it was today. That sun was shining bright yesterday, but it's pouring rain today. Would you thank God? You think He would believe you? Probably not. You're busy complaining about everything that's going wrong as opposed to looking to the good in life that we've been blessed with. Instead of looking for the good in life, we want to complain about the bad. We want to allow it to blind us. We're constantly complaining about our situation, saying it could be better than living a life, and then doing so, say, you know, I'm doing good, but you're saying it with a pessimistic attitude. We can complain, but then God tells us, but then tell God I'm thankful, and we're reminded of this. when we complain, and then we do tell God we're thankful. Remember this scripture and this verse that Jesus talks about in Matthew 12:34. Brood of vipers, how can you being evil speak of good things? For out of the abundance of the heart the mouth speaks. Now if you're going through these moments of life, and these hardships, and you're constantly complaining, so, oh, I didn't mean it that way. Yeah, you did. I didn't mean it to be complaining and nagging all the time. Yeah, you did. Because out of the mouth the heart speaks. That's how you truly feel. Oh, I had that slip of the tongue. I didn't mean that. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Otherwise, you wouldn't have said it. You wouldn't have said it. We naturally complain about the hand that we've been dealt versus taking that hand and making the best of it. That's what we do. We want to complain about it instead of taking it and making the best of it in every situation. It does us no good to sit and think about what might have been when we could be taking our faith and placing it into action and turning what it could be. One of golf's immortal moments came from the 1870s when a Scotsman demonstrated the new game to U.S. President Ulysses S. Grant. Carefully placing the ball on the tee, he took a mighty swing. The club hit the turf, and scattered dirt all over the president's beard and surrounding the vicinity, while the ball waited placidly in a tree on the tee. Again, the Scotsman swung again, and he missed. Our president waited patiently through 6 tries. Then he quietly stated, "There seems to be a fair amount of exercise in this game, but I fail to see the purpose of the ball." You don't see the purpose of it because it stayed right there. My question for you is this: do you ever feel like the ball? Stuck on the tee, waiting for something to take place and for something to happen? You ever had that feeling? At times you may feel like in your walk with God, you're kind of walking around without any real purpose in this life. Many of you would use the statement, "What is my purpose?" or "Why am I here?" That's the statement that many of us use. Maybe you feel like the young man, like that Rick Warren wrote about, and a man in his 20s who said, "I feel like a failure because I am struggling to become something and I do not even know what it is. All I know is how to get by. Someday, if I discover my purpose, I'll feel I'm beginning to live." The problem with that statement, and setting your faith idle in that mindset, is it is never put into action. You're just sitting idle and saying, "Well, I don't know what I can do. I don't know how to get involved. I don't know what I can do to really to contribute to something." So you sit idle and you're doing nothing. You're doing nothing. You've got to place it into action. God doesn't want us to constantly run around life without direction or without purpose. And I'm reminded of the scripture. It says, "Acknowledge me in all the ways, and I'll direct thy path." Proverbs 22:6. "In all things acknowledge me, and I'll direct thy steps," or direct thy path. Are you acknowledging Him? Our purpose is to serve God and to bring God glory. And when we do this, it requires us to surrender to Him and say, "You know what, God, here I am." And it calls us to surrender to His instruction and what He's called us all to do. That's our purpose in this life. What He's called us all to do. We surrender to Him and what He's instructed us to do. And we find those instructions in His Word. That's the instructions. That's the roadmap for life. Every one of life's problems are answered from Genesis all the way to Revelation. You can find the answer to any problem that you want in those scriptures. Anything. That's where the answer can be found. If you truly want to know Christ and know what His plan or His purpose for you is in this life, is stop playing the church game and allow Him to truly make an impact on your life. The church will never become what it should be until we as a congregation be what we should be. Over the next few weeks, I want to challenge you, myself included, to put Jesus Christ first in your life and everything you do. Humble yourself before God to allow Christ to be the Lord of your life seriously. This morning I want to concentrate on the question, how can I live a God-pleasing life? How can I do it? What can I do? Well, Colossians 1:9 through 14 says this: "For this reason, we also, since the day we heard it, do not cease to pray for you And ask that you may be filled with the knowledge of His will, and all His wisdom and spiritual understanding, that you may walk worthy of the Lord, fully pleasing Him, being fruitful in every good work, increasing in the knowledge of God, strengthened with all might according to His glorious power, for all patience and long-suffering with joy, giving thanks to the Father who has qualified us to be partakers of the inheritance of the saints in the light. He has delivered us from the power of darkness and conveyed us into the kingdom of the Son of His love, in whom we have redemption through His blood and the forgiveness of sins. This passage of Scripture in general can be quite a difficult passage to take in. It can be a difficult one to take in if you read it too quickly or go through it too fast. One of the reasons being it's hard to understand because verses 10 through 12 is one long sentence. It's one complete sentence. It has a total of 78 words, depending on the translation you may have. Now, if you were to write a paper in school, for those of you who are grammatical type people, you like to correct everybody's punctuation marks and periods and commas and hyphens and all that, parentheses, putting that in where it should go. You will know that if you was to turn a paper like this in to be reviewed or to be scored, it probably would not score too high because of all the grammatical errors that we would see in today's context, seem that it would have. It wouldn't score too high. Secondly, there are no less than 14 different ideas expressed in these 6 verses. 14 different ideas. And many ministers today could take one of these topics, or take this one passage of Scripture, and turn sermons into various weeks, or can take it in various weeks of studying Bible sermons from this one passage. Because there's so much that the Apostle Paul is trying to cover. He's trying to cover a lot. Many ministers could take a short passage and break it down in several weeks of topics that it contains. And I truly believe that Paul had so much that he wanted to tell the church here and wanted to cover in the church of Colossae that he just kept going and going like the Energizer Bunny. Because there's so much information he wanted to cover or pack into his letter. We can do this as well, especially in our letters, when there's something that we really want to say, but we have little room to do so. In doing so, we try to cram it or crunch it all in or rush it up to cram it all in and include as much information as we feel that we need to get our point across. And that's exactly what Paul is trying to do here in his letter to Colossians. I have a question. Wouldn't it be great if we had such zeal and we're so overjoyed that we just could not stop talking about Christ? Wouldn't it be great? And that, I know that would turn a lot of people away. It would push a lot of people away because, there's that Chris. He kills us with all that talk about Jesus all the time. It's over and over and over. And he don't ever shut up about it. But isn't that what the world needs? Isn't that what we're called to do? I think so. So how do we find our purpose? Well, number one, you have to have serious prayer. Serious prayer. Verses 3 and 9, Colossians chapter 1, verse 3 says this: We give thanks to God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, praying always for you. We also see this, and they're very similar, verse 3 and 9, verse 3 and verse 9 are. For this reason, we also, since the day we heard it, do not cease to pray for you, and ask that you may be filled with the knowledge of His will, and in all wisdom and spiritual understanding. You know, verses 3 and 9 being this closely identical, our prayer is that of fervency. It should be that of fervency. It should be fervent in all we do. We as Christians should always allow our prayer life and allow it to be serious and take it serious, because prayer is one of the most underused tools that a Christian has today. They don't use it enough. They don't pray enough. They don't want to put it in action. How would you feel if you went for say a whole day? All right, those of you who have parents or really close friends. You went for a whole day and your child never called to check in on you. How would it make you feel? How would you feel if you had a real close friend or a close relative and they never called, they would call you all the time and all of a sudden they just quit calling? How would it make you feel? It wouldn't feel too good. It wouldn't feel too good. How do you think it makes God feel when we as His children don't talk to Him on a daily basis? Think it makes Him happy? I doubt it very highly. I doubt it very highly. We as Christians should allow our prayer life to be serious, not just a time of convenience. And I always said that prayer is the most underused tool that a Christian uses today. We should always take our prayer life serious, and at all times make it an essential part of our daily lives. Not just of the mornings, not just before you eat, but all day long. All day long. Talk to Him daily. Talk to Him regularly. Talk to God. We should make it all an everyday essential part of our daily lives. James tells us that the effectual fervent prayer of a righteous man avails much. We often cut ourselves short by not taking our problems to God to begin with. In doing so, we try to take matters into our own hands instead of allowing Him to step up or step in and help us in our situations. Number 2, serious living. Serious living. Serious living. If we have become true followers of Christ, He will have a dramatic impact on our lives. He will have a dramatic impact on our lives. We'll start taking things serious that we didn't really take serious before. We'll have a change of our hearts and the way we respond to certain situations when we allow Him to truly become Lord of our lives. You say, yeah, and people come up, they talk to me about things I've done when I was growing up, and I say, yeah, I was a different person then. And I really don't like stuff like that to be brought up of the past, because I don't live there anymore. But I've done some things in my life that I'm not really proud of. People say, yeah, you remember when you done that? I'm like, yeah, I don't live that life anymore. I'm a changed man. Why? Because I've took Christ serious in my life. And when you take Him serious in your life, He will change the way you live. He will have a dramatic impact on your life. Not just while you're here on Sunday mornings, but every day of the week. We'll be making a decision revolved around our faith and obedience to Him and His Word. And when we've done wrong or we're mistreated, and the world tells us how we should respond with anger or vengeance. But then the Spirit talks and says, you know what, you probably shouldn't do that. You kind of told you, maybe I just need to turn the other cheek. We should be bearing fruit daily in our walk. We should be bearing fruit, exemplifying Him in our lives, allowing our lives to be seriously revolved around Him, and we bear fruit, and it produces fruit. So number 2A, bearing fruit. That's something we have to do. We have to bear fruit. We can remember the parable of the fig tree. We can all call to mind this parable in Luke 13, verses 6 through 9. It says this, He spoke this parable of a certain man who had a fig tree planted in his vineyard. And he came seeking fruit, and he found none. Then he said to the keeper of his vineyard, Look, for 3 years I have come seeking fruit on this fig tree, and found none. Cut it down. Why does it use up the ground? But he answered and said to him, Sir, let it alone this year, until I dig around it and fertilize it. And if it bears fruit, well. But if not, you can cut it down. I ask you this morning, are you bearing fruit? Or are you just like the fig tree in the garden that's not doing anything, just taking up a spot? If we don't produce fruit, then like the fig tree, we will be cut down or have the axe laid to the root. He will separate us. And then we'll be tossed into the fire. We'll be burned, or we'll be weeping and wailing and gnashing of teeth. I think we all have a good understanding of what Christ is talking about here. He says we need to bear our fruit. If we bear our fruit, we'll do great. We'll produce. And like the tree when it was planted and took care of, we would those around would be expecting to get fruit from it for years. However, in a few years, if the tree is not yielding fruit, we would feel that that tree is defective or that there's something wrong with it. We might even take it back to the nursery where you bought it, or Lowe's, or wherever you may have bought the tree to begin with. Say, you know what, this tree isn't doing any good. So we take it back and get rid of it. One of the key elements that comes to mind about bearing fruit and producing is bringing people to Christ. Bringing people to Christ. Remember, we do this by planting seeds. We can recall from last week's message about the Apostle Paul, where he said, I planted, Apollos watered, God gave the increase in 1 Corinthians 3:6. When we plant, we nurture the seed, it will grow because God is giving the increase. Bearing fruit is all part of being a Christian, believe it or not. It's all part of it. But even more than that, we are to be living the life that will reflect Christ in such a way that it has a lasting positive impact on everyone that is around us or that we come in contact with. When we simply act our Christianity, we have no trouble at all blending in with the rest of the world. But when we live out our Christianity and allow it to be an essential part of our lives, then we will stand out to the world at large because they will be able to see a noticeable difference or a noticeable change in our lives. That of Christ. When we place a seal on something, everyone knows in most cases that it's an object that is seen, and whatever that seal it represents, say, hey, that's mine, that's my seal, that's mine, my object right there. I've got my seal on it. It's got my seal, it's mine. We see in 2 Corinthians 1:21-22, now it is God who makes both us stand firm in Christ and has anointed us to set His seal of ownership on us and to put His Spirit in our hearts and deposit, guaranteeing what is to come. We should display that seal of honor proudly by how we live our lives outside these walls. We should do it proudly and to bring honor to Him by our actions. This life should not be one of acting, but that of living. There's a difference in acting it out and living it out. There's a difference in acting and living it out. We should display that seal of honor and live it out to the glory of God. Bring honor and glory to Him. Galatians 5:16-17. The Apostle Paul tells us, so I say, live by the Spirit, and you will not gratify the desires of the sinful nature. For the sinful nature desires what is contrary to the Spirit, and the Spirit what is contrary to the sinful nature. They are in conflict with each other, so that you do not do what you want. So when we allow the Spirit to lead in our lives, we allow the Spirit, when we receive the Spirit, He helps us. And we allow Him to lead, we'll not be gratified the sinful desires of what we are physically. The sinful desires of the flesh, the nature that's ingrained in us. When we live by the Spirit, we allow Him to be our guide. And we can't satisfy that desire of the flesh. But yet we will fall into submission to Him and allow Him to lead us to greener pastures. The person who's living a God-pleasing life will begin to see the change in their values and their behavior and how they respond to situations. Excuse me. Those who have been cheating others will begin dealing honestly with one another. Those who are living together outside of marriage covenant will get married and become one flesh. Those who have been abusive in their speech will begin to move to kindness. Those who have craved gossip and tearing each other down will now seek to encourage and build one another up. Those who are once hoarded their financial resources will begin investing in their resources toward God. He can change your life dramatically. He can change you dramatically. John 15:4, abide in me and I in you. As a branch cannot bear fruit of itself unless it abides in the vine, neither can you unless you abide in me. You can't do it unless you abide in Him. It's impossible. You have to allow Him to live in you, abide in you, and draw close to you. It's not a matter of simply just trying harder in our daily walk, but it is a matter of growing closer to God in all we do. Grow closer to Him through